Welcome to the Rusted Garden Homestead. Today I'm going to show you a couple of things that you can do to help your cool crops completely form the way you want them to, which really means great size heads of broccoli, cauliflower for you growing that, nice leafy greens. Get them to the point that they're ready to harvest, full size, all that, but they're not beginning to flower or bolt. When you're growing from the spring into the summer, going from the cool weather to the warm weather, it's very possible that your cool crops look pretty good. They look something like this. Over the last 4 or 5 days, we've been having 70, 80 degree days. Soil's heating up, air's heating up. These plants could quickly go from looking pretty good to flowering and bolting to produce seed. And the reason that they do that is they get the message, usually from warm soil. When you have warm air, obviously, the soil warms. When the soil begins to dry, sometimes they feel threatened and it's like, okay, I got to produce flowers and seed pods so that I can continue. And we don't water as frequently as we need to as the temperatures are rising. Next week it's going to get cool again. But I have to protect my plants. So we're going to clean up the space, put down mulch, use shade cloth, and I'll just show you a couple things you can do to keep these guys nice and cool so they get to the size and develop the way you want them to develop. It wasn't too long ago I was protecting this bed from the frost using that tarp. So that tarp's going to go away. They're big enough now, even with the minor frost, I don't need to worry about these plants. But the heat is rolling in. So first thing, kind of clean up the space, cultivate it a little bit. Going to put the mulch down, maybe a ½ an inch. You don't need a ton, just enough mulch to help keep the moisture in. And also when you get the high 70 degree days, 80 degree days, when that sun is pounding down, it's that mulch taking the heat and it's really limiting how much it warms up the soil at the level of the roots for your lettuces. I have lettuce, spinach, broccoli, and collard greens in there. Again, the idea is keeping the roots cool, keeping the space cool, and just letting the plants think they have the perfect temperatures to keep just growing, forming beautiful heads, and they're not going to want to produce flowers and bolt. Let me put down the mulch, and you can use any kind of mulch that you want. This is what it looks like with about a ½ an inch of mulch down. Mulch is going to keep the soil temperature cooler, it's going to conserve moisture, and it's going to keep that top 2-4 inches moist so that your plants are nice and comfortable. When it gets warm, if the sun is beating down on exposed soil, really in like one day, a full sunny day, upper 70s, 80s, that top inch of the soil can dry out. In 2 days, the top 2 inches. So mulch really protects your plants from that. This is what it looks like before and after. Check out the video description. I will put in the video that shows you how I planted up this whole section, set it up with fertilizer. I don't need to fertilize this again. I've really set it up well. I just need to protect the plants, keep them watered. Next step is I'm going to put a setup on here for shade cloth, and I'm basically just going to use old tomato cages. I'll show you what that looks like. So combination of shade cloth, probably a 50% shade cloth, which means it lets in 50% of the light, or it casts 50% shade. And the mulch really will allow these plants to develop how we want them to develop. Sometimes we're on a budget, so if I had to choose between shade cloth or mulch, I would go with mulch. Mulch is pretty inexpensive, it works, it's very effective, and it's going to keep the plant roots cool, like I was saying. So before we put on the shade cloth, soak it in well. Again, combination of mulch and shade cloth is going to decrease the amount of time you have to water these plants. Check out another video in the description that I actually did this morning, talks about watering your plants. So I'm just using tomato cages. I won't be putting in my tomato plants for a couple of weeks, and they're not going to be ready for cages anyway for a while. Put something down the middle to keep the shade cloth from, falling onto the plants. I'm using a couple smaller bamboo posts on the outer edge, and I'm just going to cover it over. The mulch you want here 24/7 going forward. It's going to do everything I already said. The shade cloth you can put on if it's getting into the upper 70s, 80s, very sunny, and you can take it off. So use that as you wish. But let me set up the shade cloth. Oh, one more thing. I've set this bed up really well. I don't need to give it any kind of fertilizer or anything like that. The plants look absolutely beautiful. But at this point of growth, if you wanted to give them some water-soluble organic fertilizer like fish emulsion, I'm affiliated with AgroThrive. You can check out the video's description for that. This would be a great time to give them the water-soluble fertilizer for a boost and just let them go. But again, my beds are set up really well. there's no point in feeding plants more than you have to. That's pretty much the setup. It's going to be at least, seriously, 15-20 degrees cooler in there. The earth, a couple feet down, is much colder because we're coming from the winter, early spring into the summer. So the coolness at the depth of the earth will keep the soil cooler up top where the roots are for the lettuce. Shade cloth will help, mulch will help, and these plants are going to grow nice and slowly, get beautiful heads of lettuce, and it will definitely slow down the potential for the broccoli, the lettuce, the spinach to flower and bolt. I mean, it looks pretty cool in there. That's all you need to do. I have an Amazon shop linked in the video description. In there I put a couple different types of shade cloth if you want to check that out. You don't have to buy the ones that I've linked. It'll just give you an idea of what you might want to buy. Shade cloth, mulch, helps your cool weather crops grow as you want them to grow. Thanks for watching. Please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com and start the shade cloth and mulch a little bit early. You'll really like how it helps your plants out. Thanks for watching.